Charles has truly 100% got this wrong and absolutely needs to rethink this, not just for the good of the monarchy, but for himself and more importantly for British heritage and history. Let me explain. Hi, nice to see you. You all right? We all love a bit of history, don't we? All love a bit of, sorry, another lovely wave. We all love a bit of heritage. I don't care where you are, where you're from in the world, we all like to look back because, of course, looking back seemingly seemed a nicer place than the world we're looking in now. It's interesting, you know, you look at these particular places that are full of heritage over here, and right now we have a theatre in Streatham in London that could be lost to be turned into a church. The only good thing I would say about that is at least the building's not going to be knocked down and could be reconverted at some point, but very, very rarely are. Here's where this gets really interesting though, because of course, when you look at things, particularly royal history, once they're gone, and that's part of the problem, you know. Once you take these things away, now it's like the Royal Yacht Britannia. Remember, previous government wanted to reinstate that. They wanted to reinstate all the British things that really were great ambassadors for Great Britain. But of course, the socialist side of things, like the current government, oh no, they don't want any of that. They don't want to be surrounded by British flags. They don't want to up anything to do with Britain. It's more important really to just give your money away to people who come in and brought nothing to the country, i.e. illegals and migrants. You get the picture. Now, sadly, this has happened. After over 150 years, the royal train is going to be decommissioned. And this has absolutely set a lot of shockwaves through, not just royal circles, but literally through Great Britain. Now you might say, oh, you know, you're just being dramatic, Neil. No, what's interesting here is, think about this. Queen Victoria was the very first royal to embrace the rail age. She saw this as a great way of getting from A to B, particularly places, you know, like Windsor and Scotland and stuff like that. Hesitant at first, but then grew to love it. Now, what this did, literally, for the world, was the fact that a reigning monarch, being on a train travelling around, created accessibility for the rest of us, this sort of travel that we know today. Now, why has, of course, the, you know, royal train now been decommissioned? It was one of the things that Queen Elizabeth truly loved. She liked the idea of being able to, because remember, the train goes at a very set pace on the line. It's not like you and I wobbling around with a coffee cup coming back from the buffet. It is literally, they are trained to drive at a certain speed. And this was a wonderful opportunity to get off at certain places, meet certain people. But this has been coming for some time. If you remember, when the Queen was alive, she was often pictured at Norfolk Station on her way for her Christmas break to Sandringham. Remember that? And then, you know, now, because of the reign of King Charles, he's been forced, you can dress it up any way you want, to make dramatic cuts to the royal purse. Now, it's alleged that it cost thousands to run the royal train. People don't understand. It's about the closure of the lines for the period that the royal train is going down that track. Not because they think they're important, but because of the speed that it's going down. You have to have that. So that is to do with that particular cost. The actual cost of the royal train is just basic maintenance on any train, whether that be LNER, GWR, that is just part and parcel of the deal. The other side of it is, many people have suggested that the royals now much prefer, for speed and, you know, whatever you want to call it, environment, to go by helicopter. They've recently had 2 brand new helicopters delivered to Kensington Palace for those sort of things. Yes, I know, climate change, all that sort of stuff, right? But the bigger picture for me is the fact that that's eroding our history. When you had the royal train pulling into a station, it was an event. The cipher at the side of the train, just the beautifulness of rail, it was there. The king or the queen or whoever that was stepped out. I remember as a child being taken to see the royal train arriving, and on the platform, the red carpet, there was a ceremony. It was lovely. That's been eroded. All of that history will go. Now, the story goes that this particular decommissioned royal train could end up in the Heritage Museum up in York, where actually I've just been. And that's very nice. But once they're in a museum, they never come back. It's as we saw with the Royal Yacht Britannia, right? It's never coming back. And yet that was a great ambassador of the seas for Great Britain. We're eroding our history, all because we want to give away money to literally people who are doing nothing for the country. The cost of the royal train is a scratch in the ocean to what we're paying out on a weekly basis for all the invaders to live in 4- and 5-star hotels. I'm not being negative, I'm telling you a fact. Do you think Charles has got this wrong? I do. I think we should write to him and tell him to have a rethink. The bottom line is, once it's gone, it's gone. And now it looks like the end of the line for the royal train after 100+ years. I wonder what Queen Victoria would think to that.